I want to start today with a scenario. And I'm willing to bet that every single person listening, and definitely me, probably you too, has been in this exact spot.
Oh, boy. Okay, I'm listening.
Okay, so picture it. It's, I don't know, 11:30 at night. The house is completely dark. You're standing in the kitchen, and you're just bathed in that weird, like, bluish light from the open refrigerator.
The midnight stare down.
I
No light.
stare down, exactly. And you are locked in this epic battle of wills with a slice of leftover chocolate cake.
Yep.
But here's the thing. The you standing there isn't ignorant. You've read the articles, you've listened to the shows, you know exactly what sugar does to your sleep cycle. You promised yourself literally that morning that you were going to be disciplined today. You have the knowledge.
And yet,
And yet, it's like something else takes over. Your hand moves almost on its own. It grabs the cake, you eat it, and then 10 seconds later, the sugar hits, the shame hits, and you're asking yourself that one question.
why did I do that?
Why on earth did I do that? It's that feeling of being hijacked. And that feeling, that gap between knowing and doing, is what we're talking about today. We are doing a deep dive into Chapter 3 of the Bhagavad Gita.
And before anyone tunes out thinking, oh, great, a history lesson.
Right, I didn't sign up for a religious text.
Exactly. Just pause for a second. This is not about ancient history. This is a field manual for that moment in the kitchen. If you strip away all the epic scenery, Chapter 3 is a psychological breakdown of why we self-sabotage.
And the sources we're looking at today frame it as a kind of internal warfare.
It is. It's a friction between two personalities living inside your head. On one side, you have the Arjuna in you.
Okay, who's Arjuna?
Arjuna is the part of you listening to this right now. It's the seeker, the part that wants to be good, to be healthy, to be kind, the part of you that buys the gym membership on January 1st.
The New Year's resolution.
Yeah, got it.
Right. But then, living right alongside him, you have the Duryodhana.
The villain, yeah. But he's not some monster. He's the ego. He's raw desire. He is the part of you that just screams, I want it, and I want to end up you. And the really unsettling part is, in the story, they're family. They grew up in the same house.
They live in the same mind.
Okay.
Yeah, that's uncomfortable.
It is. And it leads to the central question of this whole chapter. Arjuna turns to his guide, Krishna, and he asks something that feels so incredibly modern. He basically says, what is this force that compels me to do wrong, even when I don't want to, as if I'm being dragged by force?
Dragged by force. That phrase really jumped out at me. It's so violent. It's like he's saying, I know better, but my body isn't listening. I can't do better.
And this is where the sources brought up this amazing counterquote from the villain, Duryodhana. We're calling it the Duryodhana Dilemma.
Oh, yeah, you have to read this. It's perfect.
So Duryodhana, the bad guy, he says this, I know what is right, but I don't feel like doing it. I know what is wrong, but I cannot stop myself.
Wow. I cannot stop myself. I mean, that is procrastination in a nutshell. That's every bad habit.
It is. And it completely busts this myth that our problem is ignorance. We think, if I just read one more book, if I just get more information, then I'll change.
We think we need a better strategy.
But Duryodhana knew all the strategies. He had the best education. He knew the ethics. His problem wasn't a lack of knowledge. It was a lack of traction. The gears of his intellect just weren't catching the wheels of his actions.
Okay, so if the problem isn't a lack of knowledge, then what is it? Krishna gives a very specific answer, right? He names the enemy.
He does. No ambiguity. He says the enemy is kama, which is desire, and krodha, which is anger. He calls them insatiable, all-devouring,
Right.
the destroyers of wisdom.
Okay, let's unpack that, because that tripped me up at first. Desire and anger. To me, those feel like two totally different things. You know, desire is, I want the cake. Anger is, that guy just cut me off in traffic. How are they the same enemy?
This is where the psychology gets so deep. The insight from the sources is that anger isn't a separate force. It's just a shapeshifter. Anger is frustrated desire.
Wait, say that again? Anger is frustrated desire.
Exactly. Anger cannot exist without a desire underneath it.
Yeah.
Think about your traffic example. Why do you actually get angry when someone cuts you off?
Because it's dangerous. He's a jerk.
That's the surface reason. But the emotional fuel is a desire. You have a desire to get where you're going safely, a desire to get there on time, a desire for people to follow the rules. That other driver, he obstructed your desire.
Huh. So if I was just on a lazy Sunday drive, no rush at all.
You'd probably just tap the brake and think, whatever, buddy, the anger wouldn't even show up.
You're right. I wouldn't care. Wow.
The anger is the smoke. The desire is the fire. If you take away the want, the anger has nothing to burn. So Krishna is saying it's not two enemies, it's one mechanism. Desire is the root. When you feed it, it becomes greed. When you block it, it becomes anger.
And the text has a metaphor for this desire, right? The fire one, Mahashana.
Yes, Mahashana, the great eater or the insatiable fire. And this is so critical because it pushes back against everything our culture tells us about cravings.
What do you mean?
Well, what are we told to do with a craving? Satisfy it. Treat yourself. Get it out of your system.
Yeah.
We think, if I just eat the cookie, the craving will be gone and I'll be at peace.
Right. Scratch the itch.
But the Gita says desire is a fire. And what happens when you throw fuel indulgence onto a fire? Does it go out?
No, it just,
Yeah.
it flares up. It gets bigger.
And it demands more fuel next time. This is the trap. We think indulging a desire will silence it. But what it actually does is train it. It creates a habit, a mental groove. Every time you give in, you're just digging that groove deeper. You're not putting the fire out, you're feeding it.
That's why just this once never, ever works.
Never. Because just this once teaches your brain, hey, this is a valid solution. Let's try this again tomorrow, but maybe a little louder.
So getting what you want doesn't bring peace. It just creates a stronger habit of wanting. Honestly, that's kind of depressing.
It can feel that way, but it's also incredibly liberating because it stops you from running after the wrong solution.
That's true. Okay, so this fire, this desire, it obscures our wisdom. The sources gave 3 analogies for this that I thought were so good for, like diagnosing how bad the fire is.
Yeah, the 3 levels of obscuration. It helps you see what you're up against. So the first, lightest level is smoke covering a fire.
Okay, smoke and fire. What's that?
This is a mind that's mostly clear. Smoke is.
Yeah.
It's flimsy. A little breeze blows it away and you can see the flame perfectly. This is the person who just needs a little reminder. They get stressed, they forget their values, they hear something like this, and poof, the smoke clears. The wisdom was right there.
That's the best case scenario. Oh yeah, the cake is a bad idea, and you just walk away. But then it gets harder. The second one is dust covering a mirror.
Right. This is for the more active, passionate mind. If a mirror is covered in a thick layer of dust, you can't just blow on it. The reflection is gone. You have to get a cloth. You need some effort. You have to actively scrub.
So that implies real work. It's not just a realization, it's discipline.
Exactly. You need a practice. You have to actively clean the mirror of the mind to see clearly again. And honestly, this is where most of us live most of the time.
And the third one, this one was intense. A womb covering an embryo.
Yeah, that's the deepest level. Complete darkness, deep conditioning. You can't scrub a womb. You can't just blow it away. It requires something totally different.
What does it require?
Time. Patience. It means a whole process of gestation and growth for that life to emerge. This is for a deep-seated addiction or trauma. There's no quick fix. You have to be patient and let the new you gestate and be born. It's a long game.
That is a serious reality check. I think we all like to think we're just a smoke and fire situation, but for some of our bigger issues, we might be the embryo.
And just knowing which one you're dealing with is half the battle.
Okay, so we know the enemy is desire. We know how it covers our wisdom, but let's go back to the battle itself. If my intellect, my Arjuna, knows the cake is bad, why does he keep losing? Why is he so weak?
He's not weak. He's outnumbered. The sources use this fantastic modern analogy that fits perfectly here, the elephant and the rider.
I love this one. This is from Jonathan Haidt, right?
It is, but it maps perfectly onto the ancient model. So imagine a rider sitting on top of a giant elephant. The rider. That's your conscious intellect. It's the part of you that reads books, sets New Year's resolutions, makes plans.
The logical, rational part.
Exactly. But it's tiny, the elephant underneath. That's your body, your senses, your subconscious mind. It is 6 tons of instinct, habit, and raw emotion.
So when the rider says we should go left towards the gym and the elephant smells a bakery and wants to go right,
The elephant wins. Almost every time. I mean, it's just physics. The rider can pull on the reins and yell all he wants, but if that 6-ton beast decides to turn, it turns. This is why willpower alone is such a terrible strategy. You're trying to wrestle an elephant with an idea.
But the text says something even scarier happens. It's not just that the rider loses the fight. Sometimes the rider switches sides.
That is the hijack. And this is the part that should really give us pause. When the desire from the senses gets strong enough, it floods the mind, and then the intellect, the rider who is supposed to be in charge, stops fighting. It starts rationalizing.
It becomes the elephant's lawyer.
Precisely.
No.
The rider sees the elephant heading for the cake and starts saying, well, I did have a very stressful day. And technically there are eggs in cake and eggs are protein. I deserve a little self-care.
I'll be better on Monday. Monday is a much better day to start a diet anyway.
Yes. The intellect is now using its own cleverness to justify the impulse. It has been hijacked. And at that point, you are well and truly dragged by force. The whole internal system has collapsed.
That is chillingly accurate. I have definitely been my own elephant's lawyer. So if the elephant is that strong and the rider is corruptible, are we just doomed? I mean, what's the solution? Because Arjuna's first idea is just to run away.
Right, the escapist trap. He basically says,
Yeah.
okay, I quit. I'm dropping my weapons, going to a cave in the mountains, and I'm just going to meditate.
Which sounds pretty logical. If I can't resist the kitchen, I should just move out of the house.
But Krishna absolutely slams that idea. He calls it hypocrisy.
Hypocrisy, that's a strong word.
It is. But the logic is sound. He says if you're sitting in a cave, physically doing nothing, but your mind is still churning, if you're meditating in the mountains but just thinking about the cake, you haven't escaped anything. You're just repressing.
You're just boiling on the inside.
Right. And nature itself, Prakriti, will force you to act eventually. You can't just turn off your body and mind. You have to eat. You have to sleep.
Yeah.
You can't just hit the off switch on life.
So if running away is a trap and fighting head-on is a losing battle, what's left? This is where that chariot analogy comes in, isn't it?
This is it. This is the operating manual. You have to visualize yourself driving a chariot.
Okay, so break down the parts for us.
The horses pulling the chariot. Those are your senses. They're wild, they're powerful, and they want to run in 1,000 different directions at once. The reins in your hands, that's your mind, the tool you use to guide the horses. The driver holding the reins, that's your intellect, your booty. And the passenger in the back, just watching the whole ride, that's your true self, the Atman.
Okay, horses are senses, reins are the mind, driver is the intellect.
For most of us, most of the time, the driver is asleep at the wheel. The reins are slack, and the horses are just dragging the whole chariot wherever they feel like going. The senses are yanking the mind around, and the intellect is just along for the bumpy ride.
So the goal isn't to shoot the horses, you need them to move.
A chariot with no horses goes nowhere. You need that energy, that desire. The solution is for the driver, the intellect, to wake up, grab the reins, the mind, and start actively steering the horses.
Steering them where, though?
And that is the whole path of Karma Yoga. It's not about stopping action. It's about changing the purpose of the action. It's full engagement with the world, but with a totally different internal operating system.
Okay, let's get practical. How do we actually do that? How do we wake up the driver?
The sources outline a two-level approach. You need defense and you need offense. Level 1 is external. It's discipline. You have to physically control the inputs first.
So don't walk the elephant past the bakery.
Do not walk the elephant past the bakery. The text is clear. Control the senses first. You have to regulate what you watch, what you listen to, what you eat. You're just trying to quiet the horses down enough so the driver can even get a grip on the reins.
Okay, so that's the defensive part. But then there's the internal shift, the change in attitude.
And this is where the real transformation happens. The sources talked about this Ganga water metaphor, which I just thought was beautiful.
Yeah, explain that one.
So in India, when people worship the river Ganges, they'll stand in the river, scoop up a handful of water from the river, and then pour it back into the river as their offering.
So they're not really giving the river anything it doesn't already have.
Exactly. They're offering the river back to itself.
Yeah.
And Karma Yoga says, do that with your life. This body, it's made of food from the earth. It belongs to nature. The energy you use to work, that's universal energy, your thoughts. They're part of a collective consciousness.
Nothing is actually mine.
Right. So when you act, when you do your job, you're just taking nature's energy and offering it back to the world, back to the whole system.
That's a huge shift from, I'm doing this work to get my paycheck, to get my promotion.
That's the Duryodhana mindset. All about me and mine. Karma Yoga flips it. You start to realize, I'm not the machine. The body-mind is the machine.
And I am.
I am the operator. I am the witness. Sakshi. That's the key term. You realize you are the silent awareness watching the machine work. And when you make that shift, you create a space, a gap.
Yeah.
And that gap, that's where you win the war.
Let's talk about that gap. The sources were very specific about when we can intervene.
This is the most practical advice in the whole chapter. A desire doesn't start as a tidal wave. It starts as a tiny bubble, a little thought. I'm a bit bored. Or, that looks good.
The bubble phase.
The bubble phase. When it's just a bubble, it has almost no power. You can just watch it and let it pop. It's easy to say no.
Yeah.
But if you engage with it, if you start thinking about it, It gathers emotional energy. It becomes a wave.
And once it's a wave.
It's too late. It crashes. The elephant has already turned. If you're waiting until you're in the middle of shouting to try and control your anger, the battle was lost 5 minutes ago when you let that first little bubble of irritation grow.
So the whole practice is just widening that gap, catching the bubble before it becomes a wave.
That's it. You stop trying to fight the world. You stop trying to run to a cave. You stay in your life, but you start fighting the internal conditioning. You reclaim the chariot.
You do your job, you raise your family, but free from fever, as the text says. I love that phrase.
Free from the fever of what's in it for me. You do the work because it's your part to play, and you let the results be what they will. You unhook your happiness from the outcome.
It sounds like taking the weight of the world off your shoulders, even while you're still in the world.
It's the ultimate relief. And this brings us to the final, really mind-bending promise in the text. If you practice this, if you really identify as the witness, you realize that the doer of all the actions isn't even you. It's nature, prakriti.
Whoa, wait, explain that. If I'm not doing my job, who is?
The cosmic machine is doing it. Is
Yeah.
your heart beating because you're telling it to? Are your neurons firing because you're commanding them? The sun rises, gravity works, your body digests food. It's all one massive intelligent system.
And we think we're in charge of our little corner of it.
We think we're Atlas holding up the sky, and the text is just inviting you to gently put it down, to realize you're not the doer. You are the joyous, silent witness to the whole incredible show. You find peace not by quitting your job, but by realizing you were never the one doing it in the first place.
That is a massive idea to sit with. It's a little scary to let go of that feeling of control, but yeah, I can feel the tension in my shoulders releasing just thinking about it.
It's the only real freedom there is.
So here's the mission for today if you're listening. We've talked about the theory. Now it's about driving the chariot. Just for today, try to catch one bubble.
Just one. Start small.
That impulse to check your phone when you should be working, that little spark of irritation at someone, the thought of that midnight snack, just see it when it's a tiny bubble. Watch it and see if you can just let it pop. Just to prove to yourself that you are the driver.
The reins are in your hands. You just have to pick them up.
Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you next time.